Yo, 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 what's going on, people? It's your boy Jay Jordan back again for another live stream. We haven't done one of these in a while. That hasn't been a watch along, so it's good to get back into it. Janelle, I see you first. RC, my guys, salute, salute. What's going on? Well, I decided to do this live stream last minute, so we just gonna get into it in a bit. But I wanted to look at the remaining games on the schedule for each team and see um, what their ceiling is, where they can possibly make it if they can get into the playoffs, if they'll stay at their current seeding, or will they drop out. As you know, I remember at the beginning of the season we did a evaluation back in April about where we think some teams would end up seeding at the end of the season. So I'll pull up that document while we do this as well. But just a random idea I had. There's about 14 to 16 games, depending on the team, left in the season. The Olympics are over. They're just as quick as they came, they finished. So we're going to go through it and see where these teams are and where they possibly could be. Some of the places I'll be taking some information from this website called Tankathon, to be honest with you. Tankathon has a nice document of the strength of schedule for the remaining, the amount of games and the strength of schedule on their site. Also looking at across the timeline, they have a lot of the transactions up to the minute. They update the site with players getting released, signed, coaches getting hired, what type of contracts they have, all those different types of details. So I'll be using a couple different sites to basically collaborate with and cooperate my findings, and then I also have some graphics of my own that we'll take a look at. But before we get into that, make sure you leave a like, share if you can. It really helps the channel out. But I do want to take a look at the current standings so that we could have an idea of what is going on here. So let me get that up for us in a second. All right, cool. Hope you guys can see that. So these are the current standings in the WNBA. So we got the New York Liberty at 1, Connecticut at 2, Minnesota at 3, Seattle at 4. We have pop-ups. Get that out of here. We have Las Vegas at 5, Phoenix at 6, Indiana at 7, Chicago at 8, Atlanta at 9, LA Sparks at 10, the Mystics at 11, and the Dallas Wings at 12. So this is the current standings that we left off this WNBA season with before the All-Star game and, of course, the Olympic break. So I'm going to go one by one, starting with each higher seeded team, of course, going from whoever seeded 1 all the way through 12. We'll talk about some of the players on their roster currently, if anybody's coming back, anybody's not coming back, what seed they are, and where we think they'll possibly fall. Let's see if I can. I also want to show you guys where I sort of had them predicted at the beginning of the season. So let me get that up for you right now. Once this loads, cool. That just loaded. And let's get that up for you. So we did this on April 29th. I think RC was here as well. I have some of his choices. So I had the Aces at 1, Liberty at 2, the Sun at 3, the Storm at 4, the Mercury at 5, the Lynx at 6, Dream at 7, Fever at 8, Dallas at 9, the Sky at 10, the Sparks at 11, and the Mystics at 12. So that's where I had them ending up falling up. So right now it looks like I'm wrong in the Aces being 1, but I have Liberty, Connecticut. The Lynx are currently at 3, but they're tied with the Seattle Storm. with a 17-8 record. Looking at the bottom of the list, I had Sky Sparks Mystics. Here it's Sparks Mystics Wings. I didn't expect. I guess with Satu Sabali and everybody getting hurt for them, that sort of put a damper or made my choices look a little wrong here. But there's still time. The Wings could still possibly. They'll have to win a lot of games out to get to the ninth seed. Actually, no, they're only one game out of ninth. They're one, yeah. The Dream are 7 and 17. They're in the ninth seed. I had the Dream at the seventh seed, and it's looking shaky for them as well. So we'll see what happens. The season still has about 15 games to go, but let's get into it and take a look at these teams, starting with the New York Liberty. Hope you guys can all see that. On the right, we have their record, their schedule, all that stuff. And then in the middle is where I was telling earlier from the website Tankathon. SOS stands for Strength of Schedule. And they have their toughest opponents listed and their easiest opponents listed. So the number one seed, New York Liberty, 21-4. They have 15 games left in the season. They have 7 home games and 8 away games. According to the remaining schedule strength, they have the 11th out of 12 strongest schedule, so pretty low there on the chart. Talking about just looking at the remaining schedule for the teams and going through and seeing where we think they'll end up falling. So New York, currently the number one seed, 21-4 record, 15 games left. They have 7 home games, 8 away games, 11th on the schedule strength meter. They have their toughest opponents they have 1 against Connecticut, 1 against Minnesota, 2 against the Storm, 2 against the Aces, and 1 against the Mercury. For their easiest, and I put easiest in quotes, easiest opponents, they have 1 against the Mystics, 4 against Dallas, 2 against the Sparks, and 1 against the Dream. So looking at their schedule here, tomorrow they play the Sparks on the road, and then they play the Aces on the road on Saturday. They come home for 3 games, back-to-back against Dallas on the 20th and the 22nd. And then on the 24th, they play Connecticut at home. So they have a nice 3-game homestand before they go on the road. They play Phoenix, LA, and Seattle on the road to finish out August. They have a nice little break from August 30th to September 5th, where they play Seattle again and the Aces at home. Then they go back on the road to Dallas to play Dallas twice in a row. It's weird how Dallas ended up getting backloaded to the second half of the season, where they're playing them 4 times in the span of 3 weeks. And they're all both back-to-backs. And then they come home to play Minnesota on the 15th, Washington on the 17th, and then the last day of the season, the 19th, against the Dream. RC says Liberty finished 33-7. You think? Why's my? Let me fix. Then I'll start posting some comments here. I have to fix this up a bit. There we go. RC says 33-7. Maybe they lose 8 games, 7 or 8. Can't really decide. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'm looking at the schedule here. I think they'll lose one of the games against the Aces. I'm not sure which one. They're bound to lose one of these games against Dallas. You play Dallas 4. It's hard to beat a team like Dallas 4 times, especially with Dallas getting back Satu Sabali. Of course, it's going to take them time to get back into the rhythm they had last year. But it'll be tough to see how they pan out when it comes towards the end of that season. No. I ain't gonna hold that against you. I ain't gonna hold that against you. I already got your prediction from last time, RC, when you said the Aces going 38-2, but I'm gonna leave that alone. Also, the thing with the Liberty, you also have to take into account that Benijah Laney, Hamilton had knee surgery before the Olympic break, and they looked today. It was reported she's expected to miss 2 more weeks following the break, so she won't be back until September, the earliest. So that's something to keep an eye on with the Liberty. No Benijah Laney Hamilton for the next 2 weeks. And then even though she's coming back, it'll be hard to determine whether she'll be able to go as hard as she was going before the surgery. Of course, before she was going in and out of the lineup with sore knees and things of that nature. So in the meantime, Kayla Thornton, Leonie Fibich are gonna have to step up, and I know Leonie Fibich is dealing with some injuries as well. So that's something to keep an eye on. I think RC asks who's starting for her. Kayla Thornton. Possibly it could be either Kayla or Leo. I know some days Sandy would start KT, some days she would start Leo. So I guess it'll be depending matchup permitting, honestly. She'll probably start off with KT since Leo was playing over in the Olympics. She got beat up a little bit over there. So she's probably a little banged up. So KT's been home. She's fresh. She'll probably go with that to start and then play it by ear from there. But looking at the schedule, I think I agree with RC. Out of the 15 games, I think they'll win at least 11 of the next 15. I know these first couple games will probably be slow coming back from the Olympics. Like your two main cogs with Sabrina and Brianna. Hopefully John Quell and the rest can pick up the slack in that area. Oh yeah, and Niara and Leo. So you had 4 players go to the Olympics. While a lot of them stayed home. So be interesting to see if those players can pick up the slack until Stewie, Brianna, and everybody else can get their legs back under them in this final push. So 7 home games, 8 away games. I think they win the next. I think they win 11 out of their 15. What's that put them at? That puts them at 32 and 8. So I have the Liberty at 32 and 8. I still think they'll be the number 1 overall seed in the playoffs. Leave any comments if you think otherwise. Let me know your thoughts. But I think that's it. I think 32 and 8 on the low end for the Liberty. They could possibly finish, if everything goes right, they could possibly finish about 34 and 6, 35 and 5. If they can continue their mojo from earlier on in the season. But let me know as we move on to the next team in the standings. So we got the Connecticut Sun. The Connecticut Sun, they're in the number 2 seed. They have an 18 and 6 record. So they have 16 games left on their schedule. 7 home games, 9 away games. According to the strength of schedule chart here, Connecticut is 10th on the list. They have one game against the Liberty, 1 against the Lynx, 2 against the Storm, 2 against the Aces, 1 against the Mercury. And then they have 1 against the Mystics, 1 against the Wings, 3 against the Sparks, 1 against the Dream, 2 against Chicago, 1 against the Fever. Keep in mind with this schedule strength that they have here, it basically takes the team's record. If their record is below 500, it puts them as an easy opponent, and I put that in quotes. And of course, if their record is above 500, it's considered a tough opponent. So it doesn't account for recent momentum or recent improvements in teams. It just goes strictly off of their current record. So looking at games like the Fever and the Sky, while these teams have shown improvement, it could be a total different outcome when they actually come and play against each other. So just keep that in mind. But 18 and 6, number 2 seed. Remember, they started off like 9 and 0, 10 and 0 before the Liberty gave them their first loss. I still think the Sun, they made some big acquisitions. Let's start there. They got Marina Mabry right before or right during the Olympic break. I don't. It was right before the Olympic break because she was in the Sun jersey at All Star Weekend. So Marina Mabry traded from the Chicago Sky to the Connecticut Sun for Mariah Jefferson and Rachel Banham, and of course probably some draft. I think it was some draft picks, or yeah, some definitely some draft picks. So that gives them more ball handling, a scorer, puts them directly into more of a win now mode. We already knew they were trying to go all in this season because who knows what next season will look like in terms of their roster construction. But Marina Mabry now is a big addition, especially after they lost to the Liberty again. I think they've lost 7 straight regular season games to the Liberty. So they're looking for offense wherever they can find it. The question is, will she start? Is the question. They currently have a pretty solid starting lineup with Ty Harris, Dejanay, Dewana, Alyssa, and Bree Jones. Does she come off the bench as a sixth woman, as that scorer there? I think that'll probably be her best role. She'll be able to cook off the bench and then probably close some games instead of Ty Harris, depending on what's needed in the game. So it'll be interesting to see what Stephanie White and the Connecticut Sun do in that department. They don't really go too deep into their bench. Mo Jefferson was always out hurt. Rachel Banham got sparing minutes. So they're probably going to go about 7 or 8 deep on a game-to-game basis. Their other bench players, Olivia Nelson-Ododa, Tiffany Mitchell, and now Marina Mabry. So that puts them at 8. I don't think they really put anybody else in the game now that those other 2 players are gone. So it'll be interesting to see. But they played to start their return on Friday. They on the road at Dallas, on the road at Atlanta. Then they come home to play this Los Angeles and Chicago. I think this LA game is the game that is in Boston. At the TD Garden in Boston, this game on Tuesday, August 20th. So that's, even though that's their home game, it's still technically, well, not technically, but it's still a road game for them because that's not the arena they usually play in. But they should have some big support there. Then they come on the road to play New York, Indiana, and Washington. So interesting games there. RC says Connecticut is going to go at least 29-11. Okay, so you think they win about 11 games. Okay. Then we got Seattle at home back-to-back for them, and then the Aces. And then they go on the road for 4 games. 2 games in LA, 1 in Phoenix, 1 in Vegas. Then they come home to end the season against the Lynx, against Chicago. This end-of-season run here is going to be pretty interesting for the Sun. From Friday, September 13th, Friday the 13th, all the way to Thursday, September 19th. You play Phoenix on the road, Aces on the road, then you come home and you play the Lynx and the Sky. All of these teams here are fighting for playoff positioning and seeding. So these last 4 games of their season are going to be pretty interesting. It could shift some things around in the standings, definitely. But it's 7 home games, 9 away games. They're a pretty good home team. The Sun are, so I can't count them out at home. They don't have any injuries to really report. So, what's up, Jim? What's going on? Salute. So I can see them winning at minimum 10 games. I see them winning. They'll probably even touch 30 games if Marina Mabry, if that signing pans out the way it should. I could see them winning 30 games, putting them at 30 and 10 at the minimum. I can see the Connecticut Sun 30 and 10. Tudo, what's going on, bro? What's going on? Salute to everyone joining. Make sure you leave a like. Basically, what I'm doing here, there's about 14 to 16 games left in the season for the WNBA. I'm going through each team, starting with the number 1 team in the league, all the way down through 12. We're taking a look at their schedule, the players they probably acquired or they had to release, and we're trying to see where we think they'll end up. So leave any comments you have in the comments. I'll make sure to take a look at everyone's, and we can have a discussion about these things. Tudor, I was gonna ask you how you feel about what happened in WNBA a few days ago. Oh, with the whole De'Erica Hamby situation. Yeah. Um, it's a bad look at the moment. But it's something that's been coming down the line. I know when the report was made last year, um, it sort of got addressed and then it went away. But of course, to De'Erica, it was never going to go away. But Quita, if you guys follow Quita Love Sports, she did a whole deep dive on the court on the document, on the court case, on the different reports that were out there. So definitely take a look at her channel if you want more details about that. I'm not well versed in the. I didn't look at the court document, at the lawsuit. So definitely take a look at that. RC says, "What do you think Mabry will do?" That is the question, my friend. That is the $1 million question. What does Marina Mabry do in this new role now? She's been starting for a number of years now. She started in Dallas. She's been starting. She was the focal point here in Chicago for a bit until she wasn't. I mean, she still was. They were giving the ball to her at the end of the game, even though she was missing free throws. But that's neither here nor there. What's up, Liz? Salute. But Marina Mabry, if she can adapt or accept her role as, I'm assuming she's going to be coming off the bench as the sixth woman, she should be able to feast on the second tier of WNBA players. She can shoot, she can pass, she can get teams involved. She can get streaky from three as well. So very, very dangerous. James, salute. What's going on, my friend? Hope all is well. But I think Marina Mabry is a good, solid pickup. But we'll have to see how she works. And as I keep reiterating, we'll have to see how she fits into how the Connecticut Sun play and if they'll let her do any. We'll see if they'll let her play her game or they'll try to force her to sit in a corner and shoot threes because they're not really a good 3-point shooting team if you look at their stats. Liz says, any thoughts on a 3-on-3 league? Oh, on the Unrivaled, we'll talk about that towards the end. I just want to get through the rest of these teams. So that's Connecticut. I said minimum 30-10, so they're 18-6 now. They at least win 12 out of their 16 games to get them to 30 wins. I think they'll end the season staying at the 2 seed. Next, we got the Minnesota Lynx, who are currently the 3rd seed in the WNBA. They have a 17-8 record. They have 15 games left in their schedule, 6 home games and 9 away games. According to their schedule strength, they have the weakest schedule record-wise. They have 1 game against the Liberty, 1 game against the Sun, 2 against the Aces, 1 against the Mercury, and then they have 3 against the Mystics, 1 against the Wings, 1 against the Sparks and Dream, and 2 games against the Sky and Fever. Like I was mentioning, if you're just joining this schedule strength, I'm getting this chart from tankathon.com. Good site to look at, but they're basing this strength of schedule chart off of the current record. They're not incorporating any recent improvements or how team chemistry has gotten better, and like in terms of like the Indiana Fever. It's going strictly off of team record at the current time. So even though it may say that the strength of schedule is weak here, current teams, the current strength of the team could be a lot stronger than what their record shows. James says CC was right on the money. The 2025 WNBA All-Star Game will be held in Indianapolis. Yes, I did see that. Sort of not shocked. I mean, it's funny that the NBA just had theirs in Indianapolis, right? And now the WNBA is having it there as well. But we'll see how that plays out. I've heard mixed reviews on Indianapolis. as a hosting city. But looking at the Minnesota Lynx schedule, um, going in date order, so they played back to back against the Mystics, a home and then an away. Then they play the Vegas away, and then they play Vegas at home. So interesting start to their restart. They play the Fever at home. Then they go on the road for 2 games against Phoenix and Dallas. Then they go back home for a game against Chicago. Then go back on the road against the Fever, the Mystics, and the Dream. Go back home to play Chicago again. Then play New York and Connecticut on the road. And then finish the season against the LA Sparks. So that is an interesting schedule. They have more away games than home games. So they're gonna have to go on the road. Hopefully, Nafisa Collier, she started to come a little bit alive in the Olympics. Hopefully, she can continue to stay healthy because this team will only go as far as Nafisa Collier carries them. Looking at them, they have 17-8. I think they'll finish. I think they'll win about 10 more games themselves. You think 30-10 for Minnesota? I say, I'll say they win 20. I'll say 28 games for Minnesota. I'm gonna go 28 games. So they finished 28-12. That puts them at 40. So 28-12. RC says 30-10. I think they win. This game against Washington will be an interesting one tomorrow because Brittany Sykes and Shakira Austin both come back. So they have their full squadron back. We'll see how they play in that game, but I say 28-12. RCJ, they're deeper than just my girlfriend fee. Yeah, they're deeper, but you saw how they did without her. They were faltering towards the end of the towards the All-Star break. But I could see 28-12 at a minimum for the Minnesota Lynx. Man, so, yeah, they would. I didn't even do the math of what you were saying. 13-2 is that's tough. 13-2 in the last 15. I see them losing a couple more than that. But I think Minnesota, looking at their schedule, they're 17-8. They're currently tied with the Seattle Storm with 17-8. So I think, and the Vegas Aces at 16-8 right behind them. I could see Minnesota dropping down to 4 or 5, depending. I could see them, but they will be in the top half of the playoffs. But I could see them finishing at a 4 or 5 seed. Oh, I just seen James comment. I won't be able to watch Indiana Phoenix game Friday. My 50-inch TV and surround sound was struck by lightning. What, it was outside, or it shocked the electricity the sockets in your house? That's rough. That is rough. But let's get back to this. Minnesota. That's the Minnesota Lynx. There, 3rd seed. I think they'll finish either 4 or 5, in my estimation. But let's move on to the next team. We got the Seattle Storm, who are currently 4th seed. RC, no worries, bro. No worries. Seattle Storm, current 4th seed. They have the same record as Minnesota, 17-8. 15 games left on their schedule. They have 6 home games and 9 away games. So more away games than home. According to the strength of schedule chart, they have the 8th strongest strength of schedule. They have 2 games against the Liberty, 2 against the Sun, 1 against the Aces, 2 against the Mercury, and then they have 2 against the Mystics, 1 against the Wings, 2 against the Sparks, 2 against the Dream, 1 against the Fever. So they start off their restart on the road against Atlanta, Indiana, and Washington. So Atlanta has Ryan Howard back. She didn't play super well in the Olympics. But I think she'll play much better with her dream team. Um, and I don't mean dream team like that. Indiana, of course, with Caitlin and them playing better, that'll be a tough matchup, but we'll see. And Washington, of course, as I mentioned, if Shakira and Brittany Sykes stay healthy. Then they go home for 3 games against the Mystics, the Dream, and New York. Then they go on the road for 3 games, back to back against Connecticut and then New York again. Then against Phoenix at home, 2 on the road against the Sparks and the Wings. Then back home against I almost called them the Angels, the Sparks and the Aces. And then they finish off their season against the Phoenix Mercury. So something to keep an eye on there. Something to keep an eye on. RC says 25-15. So that means they win 8 of their next 15 games, if my math is correct. Yep. So that puts them at, 25-15. For the Storm, they haven't. Only person who went to the Olympics. Oh, they had 2 players. They had Sammy Whitcomb and Ezzy Magbegor. Ezzy Magbegor saved her best for last. Again, that game against Belgium, where she had like 30 and 13. They haven't. Nobody else really went. NECA got some extra rest. Skylar Diggins got some rest. Jewel didn't even play in that gold medal game, so she should be pretty rested. Only thing she got to worry about is jet lag. But the Storm, I think the Storm finished 5th seed. I think the Storm will finish 5th seed. So I had Minnesota at about 28. I think 27 for the Storm. 26-27 wins for the Storm. So they win about 9 of their last 15. It's a pretty interesting schedule here. 2 against Connecticut, 2 against the Mercury. They got some sleeper teams here trying to fight for the playoffs, so it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. But I have them finishing 5th. I have them finishing 5th. And 25-15, I think that's where that puts them at 5th, RC. Yeah, 25-15. James says, I do believe this is the Liberty's year to win the title. I hope so, my friend. I really hope so. I really hope so. All right, that's the Storm. Leave any comments, questions in the comments, and I'll be sure to answer them. But we're going to move on to the next team, which is the Las Vegas Aces. The Las Vegas Aces, not the start they thought they were gonna have to the season. They already knew Chelsea Gray was not going to be back until after the Olympics. We saw what she did in the Olympics. She had flashes of brilliance, but for the most part, it wasn't brilliant at all. A lot of times sitting on the bench because she couldn't keep up. But we'll see how she pans out in the second half, this 15-game sprint to the playoffs. Vegas is currently 16-8. They're a 5th seed. They have 16 games left on the schedule, 7 home and 9 away. According to the strength of schedule, they have the 3rd strongest schedule out of the 12 teams. They have 2 against the Liberty, 2 against the Sun, 2 against the Lynx, 1 against the Storm, and 1 against the Mercury. So they have multiple games with teams above them, and they play the Wings, of course, the Sparks, the Dream, 2 against Chicago, and 2 against the Fever. Am I looking at the right team? No, not. Yeah. 2 against the Chicago and 2 against the Fever. James said if the Liberty happens to win the title, that means they will have won a title before the Knicks. I'm a diehard Knicks fan, yeah. But the Knicks are trying. I got to give them credit. Got to give them credit. But looking at this Aces schedule, so on Saturday, so they have more rest than the Liberty. They don't play until Saturday, where they play New York at home and LA at home, but they have a back-to-back there. Then they don't play till the 21st, where they play a home and home with Minnesota. They're on the road for 3 games, starting with that Minnesota game. Play at Chicago and at Dallas. Go back home for a game against Atlanta. Then go on the road to Phoenix. Then go back home to play Chicago. Then they have 4 games in a row. Connecticut, New York, Indiana on the road. Go home to play Connecticut. Go on the road to play Seattle. And they finish their season against the Dallas Wings. RC already given the 26-14 for his aces, or 27-13. Interesting. For me, I have them at 28-12. I have them moving up to 3rd seed, to be completely honest with you. Have them moving up to the 3rd seed. 28-12. That means they win 12 of their 16 games. I can see them kicking it into overdrive. But then again, my other brain is telling me they had their 4 main guns in the Olympics. Will they have enough in the tank for this 15-game sprint to get up there? That's what my other side is telling me. So it's a tough decision to make here for me. My mind is telling me, well, my heart is telling me they'll be at the 3rd seed, but my mind is looking at everything that's been going on. Chelsea Gray not looking up to par. Asia Wilson was getting beat up in the Olympics. Jackie, Kelsey, they all played significant minutes there. Even Meg Gustafson played for Spain. She was killing over there. She played in the Olympics. Tiffany Hayes was playing 3-on-3 with Azerbaijan. So they had a number of representatives over there for the Olympic teams. So will they have enough gas in the tank to make it to that 3rd seed? Yes, it's a toss up there. But I'm going to go with the heart. I'm going to say 3rd seed, 28 wins for the Aces this year. So that means they win 12 of their last 16 games. 12 of their last 16. So that gives them the 3rd seed. So currently I have Liberty, Sun. I have Storm. No, Liberty, Sun, Aces, Storm, Lynx as the top 5 when all is said and done. So we'll see how that shakes out. It'll be interesting to see. And then plus they got this Becky Hammond stuff, this whole organization stuff going on with the De'Erica Hamby case. Will that affect them? It didn't seem to affect them much last season. They ended up winning the championship. Will it affect them this time around? Remains to be seen, but we shall see. All right, let's move on to the next team, people. Speeding through these. We're at the halfway point now. 6 of the 12 teams. Number 6 seed, the Phoenix Mercury. There's a big drop off from the top 5 to the next. 13-12 record for the Mercury. They have 15 games left, 8 home and 7 away. According to the schedule strength, they have the 6th strongest schedule. Yeah, James, De'Erica is suing the Aces and WNBA as a whole. We'll see what happens with that case. Looking at their schedule, Phoenix, they play once against the Liberty and the Sun and the Lynx, 2 against the Storm, 1 against the Aces. Then they play the Mystics once, Sparks once, Dream 3 times, Sky 3 times, and the Fever 1 time. Let's go through their schedule here. So tomorrow they play Chicago on the road, and then they play Indiana on a back-to-back on Friday. So they coming off the Olympics. This is their two matchups here. Interesting. And then they go back home to play Chicago. Then they go on the road again to face Atlanta on a back-to-back, 21st and the 23rd. Then they go home to face New York, Minnesota, and Vegas, and Atlanta. So they have a long homestand here from August 26th to September 5th. They play 6 games at home. Then they go on the road to take on Seattle, back home to take on Connecticut, on the road for Chicago and LA, and they finish off the season at home against Seattle. RC says Asia, Kelsey, and Jackie need help. Put an APB out for Megan. Megan was killing for Spain. It just hasn't. She kills for Spain. It doesn't translate as much. She's not the focal point on the Aces. In terms of Mercury news, Rebecca Allen didn't play in the Olympics. She got hurt in those tune-up games en route to the Olympics. She ended up hurting her hamstring. So she'll be sidelined and she'll be reevaluated in the coming weeks, is what's been reported for Rebecca Allen. And the rookie Charisma Osborne is out for tomorrow's game. I don't think she really played as much. All right, so out of their 15 games left, RC is saying Phoenix finishes 21-19. That means they win 8 of their last 15 games. I think that's about accurate. I can definitely agree with that. 8 of their last 15 sounds about right. That'll keep them. I think they will stay in that 6th seed. I don't think they go up any higher unless somebody gets injured or something of those. Somebody major gets injured and they end up dropping down, or somebody above them gets injured and they end up sneaking up. But 8-15, 8 of their last 15 sounds about right. We have to see how Diana Taurasi and Brittany Griner hold up after. I mean, they didn't play too much in the Olympics, so they should be sort of fresh. Kalia didn't play as much. She played in the gold medal game, but we'll see how that pans out. Natasha Cloud has been resting, so that's a good sign for them. Their depth is what's going to be something to keep an eye on for them. Their bench isn't the most solid, especially with Rebecca Allen out now. Players going to have to be playing a lot more minutes than they're used to. So we'll see how that works out, but I like that. 21-19 sounds about right. They stay at the 6th seed. I can get jiggy with that. All right. Leave any comments you have down below in the comment section and we'll touch on it. But in the meantime, let's move on to the 7th seed. The Indiana Fever. At the beginning of the season, I had Indiana at an 8th seed. They're right there. They are right there. So the Indiana Fever, they finished off before the All-Star break. They were starting to get into a rhythm there. They had a rough start to the season with playing a lot of the top teams to start and in a short amount of time. But after they got a little break, they started to figure it out on the back end. So looking at the Fever, their streak, they're 5-5 in their last 10 games. They're 8-4 at home, 5-8 on the road. And according to their schedule, they have 8 home games and 6 away games remaining. So 11-15, so they're 4 games under 500. But let's look at their strength of schedule. They're down towards the bottom, 9th strongest schedule remaining, and they have the least amount of games remaining as well. They're only team with 14 games remaining. 1 against Connecticut, 2 against the Lynx, once against the Storm, 2 against the Aces, once against the Mercury. And then they have, for the easier opponents, Mystics, 2 against the Wings, once against the Sparks, 2 against the Dream, and 1 against the Chicago Sky. Okay, so let's look at their schedule. Friday, you can eliminate that Wednesday game. We already know who won that game. But August 16th, they play the Mercury and Storm at home. Then they go on the road to play the Lynx and the Dream. Go back home to play Connecticut. On the road to play Chicago and Dallas. Back home for 3 games against the Sparks, the Lynx, and the Dream. Oh no, that's more. They finished the season with 6 games. Excuse me, at home, starting with the Sparks, Lynx, Dream, back to back against Vegas, and then the Wings, and then they go on the road to take on Washington to end the season. So that's an interesting end to the season. If they continue their home success, like I mentioned, they're above 500 at home, 6-5. I think they could hold or solidify their hold on this seventh seed. The Fever, 14 games left. I think they finish with, out of their 14, I think they win half of those games. So I think they finish 7-7. That puts them at 18. And what's that? 18-22. 18-22 for the Indiana Fever at minimum. So that solidifies them at the 7th seed. But 18-22 sounds about right. They haven't had anybody go to the Olympics. Oh, besides Christy Wallace. I forgot about Christy. Christy Wallace went to the Olympics. She didn't play particularly well for Team Australia. Temi Fagbenle is still out, as reported today. Still out with a thumb injury, so she will not be playing in Friday's game, according to the reports. So I think the Fever stay at 7. They get 7 more wins this season out of their 14 games, and they make the playoffs for the first time in a long time. And then when you get to the playoffs, it's a brand new season. Anything can happen. Let me know your thoughts. Where do you think the Fever finish? Do you think they win more games, less games? Let me know in the comments below. But I'm saying they win 7 more games for a 18-22 record. Let me just update my chart here. Update my chart here. So I have Liberty. I have Sun. Going from top to bottom, Liberty, Sun, Aces, Storm, Lynx, Mercury, and Fever. Cool. All right. So let's move on to the next team. The 8th seeded Chicago Sky. RC says they go in 20-20. So looking at their record, so out of their 14 games, you think they win 9 of their last 14 to get them to 20-20. Okay. Okay, that could be. I could see that as well. They could steal some wins, but I'm gonna go the safe route and put them at 500. All right, Chicago, they're 10-14, so they're right behind the Fever. They have 16 games remaining, compared to the 14 that the Fever do. 8 home and 8 away, so an even amount there for the Sky. RC says, Jay, can you see the record prediction for the Fever? No, I can see that. I can see it. 8-8 for the Chicago Sky. 8 home and 8 on the road. According to the strength of schedule, they have the 7th strongest schedule remaining. 2 against the Sun, 2 against the Lynx, 2 against the Aces, 3 against the Mercury. 2 against the Mystics, 1 against the Wings, 2 against the Sparks, 1 against the Dream, 1 against the Fever. Looking at their schedule, let's take a look. So Thursday, they play, well, that's tomorrow. They play Phoenix at home. Then they go on the road for 3 games. Sparks, Phoenix, Connecticut. That's Sparks, okay. But Phoenix, Connecticut on the road, it's going to be tough for them. Let me look at their road records. Chicago is a 6-6 on the road. They're better on the road than they are at home. They're 6-6 on the road, 4-8 at home. That's interesting. Then they go back home to play the Aces, the Mystics, and the Fever. That Mystics game is a sleeper game there. Then they go on the road to take on Minnesota and the Aces. Back home for 3 games, the Sparks, the Wings, the Mystics. On the road against the Lynx. At home against Phoenix. And then they finish the season on the road against Atlanta and Connecticut. That Thursday, September 19th, is going to be something. A lot of jockeying for position on September 19th. Last year, the season ended on a Sunday. This year, it ends on a Thursday. So it'll be a lot of jockeying for positioning on that Thursday, September 19th. I think a lot of the games will start around the same time, so that teams can't be like, I'm going to lose intentionally. I think all the East Coast games will start at the same time, and then all the West Coast games, if the math is, if I remember correctly, I should say. But the last day of the season should be exciting as always. We'll probably do a nice stream for that. I'll probably, if the Liberty are on the road or at home, if the Liberty are on the home, I'll probably sell my ticket to that last game, and we'll see. Do a nice stream for that. But out of their 16 games, the Sky, I think the Sky, I'm going to say the Sky wins 7 of their last 16. So that puts them at 17 wins. Yep. I think that's right. 7 of their last 16. Dang, that's tough though. That is tough. 17 wins for the Chicago Sky to end the season. I think it'll be tough. I think they could possibly hang on to this 8th seed. I think Dallas and these other teams are in too deep of a hole to crawl out of to snatch the 8th seed. Only possible team is Atlanta. But I think these other teams are in too deep of a hole to dig out of it. So if we give Chicago 7 wins, that puts them at 17. And then we have to give the remaining 9 losses to Chicago. What's that? That puts them at 23. So 17 and 23. That math sounds about right. And that leaves them in the 8th seed. Anybody thinks anything different? You think any other team could come and snatch that 8th seed from Chicago? They don't have any particular injuries. They did trade Marina Mabrey, but they did add Mariah Jefferson and Rachel Banham. Banham is a 3-point shooter, they were one of the worst. I think they're probably the worst team in the league at 3-point attempts and percentage, to be honest. Mo Jefferson is a solid backup point guard. But does that move the needle? Does that Kennedy Carter, Angel Reese experiment? Does Camila Cardoso get better? Do they look different? That's to be seen. So we'll see. We'll see tomorrow against Phoenix if they've been practicing over this Olympic break. They've been getting more reps in to get more comfortable with the sets that Coach Teresa Weatherspoon wants to run. But I still think they stay at the 8th seed. 17 wins for them, 23 losses is my prediction. Let's move on to the 9th seed here. So we have the Atlanta Dream, a team that I thought was going to be a little higher than this. I had the Dream at 7th seed back in April when I did my predictions. Jordan Canada, expected her to make a big difference, but she's been hurt a majority of the first half of the season. Ryan Howard ended up getting hurt, so it hasn't been pretty for the Dream. They're 7-17. They have 16 games left on their schedule, 9 home games, 7 away games. Looking at their home and away record, they're 3-8 at home, 4-9 on the road, so equally as bad in both departments. Strength of schedule, they have the 5th strongest schedule remaining out of their 16 games. They played the Liberty, Sun, Lynx, Aces once. They play the Storm twice, the Mercury 3 times. They play the Fever twice, the Sky once, the Mystics twice, I can see it's gonna be interesting for this dream team. No pun intended there. Looking at their actual schedule, Friday, August 16th against, they have a nice home stretch when they come back. They play Seattle, Connecticut, Phoenix twice, and Indiana to start the restart. Then they go on the road for 4 games against Seattle, Vegas, LA, and Phoenix. We've seen them beat Las Vegas before. We've definitely seen them beat Las Vegas before. But who knows? I think Vegas might kick it into overdrive here. Then they go back home to Dallas to take on Dallas, go on the road for the Fever. 2 games at home against the Lynx and the Mystics. On the road against Washington, at home against Chicago, end the season at New York. RC says Dream will go 11-29. Atlanta just ain't got it. Yeah, you absolutely right, bro. They really don't got it, bro. That I'm with you on that. So out of their 16 games, RC predicts they win 4 of their last 16. That means they lose 12. Yikes, that's tough. Looking at their roster, injury-wise, Jordan Canada I think is out again with another hand injury, if I'm not mistaken. Let me verify that. Yep, a right finger injury, so she's not playing. Lorella Kubai is out for them as well. They did activate Letitia Amahir. She played for Team Canada in the Olympics. I don't think she moves the needle, though. Don't think she moves the needle. No, I didn't get to Dallas yet. Dallas is the worst team, so I'll do them last. Going in standings order. But I sort of agree with RC there. I think they only win probably 4 or 5 games to end this season. That puts them at 11-29 or 12-28, somewhere around there. They'll end up having to play spoiler towards the end against teams like Chicago. Well, not really Chicago, but Minnesota, Phoenix. They'll end up just having to play New York. They'll probably just end up having to play spoiler towards the end, because I don't see them making a push for that 8th seed. I did Chicago already. I think Chicago stays at that 8th seed, and they only play Chicago 1 time, so I don't think that really helps them. Let me take a look at the head-to-head, because that could get interesting there if they happen somehow to make a run at it at the end of the season, because head-to-head plays a big part. Chicago leads the season series 2-1. So that game against Chicago on the 17th, the second to last day of the season, if the Dream happened to make a run, that game could be very important in terms of playoff positioning if they could steal that 8th seed. Because if they lose, then it makes their try just as hard. It makes their attempt harder. But yeah, the Dream, I had high hopes for them. 7th seed playoffs after I think they were around a 5-6 seed last year. But with Ryan Howard getting hurt, Jordan Canada being hurt to start the season, they fell too deep in a hole that at this point in the season, especially in an Olympic year, it's probably going to be a little bit too hard to climb out of. So they're going to have to go back to the drawing board and look forward to next year. All right, we're getting towards the end here, people. Make sure you leave a like if you like this type of content. Subscribe if you haven't already. And let's keep it pushing. All right, 10th seed. What we got? The LA Sparks. LA Sparks are the 10th seed currently. Current 10th seed. Their record is 10-14. Sorry, their record is 6-18. I thought I edited that. They're 6-18. That's a typo. Ignore that. 6-18 for the Sparks. What's that leave them with? Yeah, 16 games left. They are the 10th seed, 6-18. 8 home games, 8 away games. Their strength of schedule. They have the second strongest schedule remaining, which is tough for a team that's on the outs and outs right now. Yeah, I said Chicago going about that as well. 18-24. See. Um, Let me take a look at their injury situation. The LA Sparks. I know I saw a report that Stephanie Talbot played for Team Australia. She's going to be out um for this game. With a right foot injury. Lexi Brown still out with her Crohn's disease. Ari McDonald's out with a foot injury, and Cameron Brink, of course, is out with the ACL. So I had the Sparks going. What I had the Sparks going? I had the Sparks at an 11th seed. They're just about where I had them. This season for them is just about the development of Rakia Jackson and De'Erica Hamby's play. That's really it. RC said LA is gonna go 17-25. Too bad Brink is out. At best they finished 19-21. So you think out of their 16 games, out of their 16 games, you think they'll win 7 of those 16? That's interesting. I think LA, realistically, I think they can get wins against. Looking at the schedule, they can get wins against Atlanta, but I don't really see any gimme wins for LA. Honestly, New York, Vegas, maybe Washington. I don't see them beating Indiana with the current construction. Shoot, I might see 4 wins for them, bro. I see 4 wins for LA. So I see them getting 14. What's that? 14-26 puts you at 40 total games. I see 14 wins for LA. You got some fireworks for me on Dallas? Yeah, we almost there. 2 more teams. Well, 2 more teams. So I think out of their 16 games, they win 4. To be completely honest with you, 14-26 LA, and that's how they end their season. Oh, sorry, they're 6-18. I'm tripping. I keep forgetting I have this wrong. 6-18. 6-18. So 10-14 is wrong, guys. 6-18. 4 wins puts them at 10. So I got them at 10-30. 10-30. 10-30. Hopefully I don't have any more typos on the rest of these teams. But let's get to the Mystics. Let me make sure I'm right on them. Yes, they're 6-19. The Mystics 6-19. They're 3-9 at home, 3-10 on the road. Remember, they've been dealing with a lot of injuries. Brittany Sykes goes out like third, fourth game of the season. Shakira Austin still dealing with the hip injury. It's been rough for the Washington Mystics. They have 15 games left. They have the Where are they? They have the 4th strongest schedule. Remaining 8 home games, 7 away games. Let's look at their schedule. They start off on the road against Minnesota, then home against Minnesota and Seattle and the Sparks. Back on the road against Seattle and Chicago. At home against Connecticut. On the road against Dallas and Phoenix. At home against Minnesota. On the road against Chicago and Atlanta. Then finish off the season at home against Atlanta, New York, and the Fever. So 6-19, 15 games left. I'm going to put an asterisk here. If Shakira and Brittany Sykes stay healthy, I could see them winning at least 6 of their 15 games. Because if you watched a lot of the watch-alongs with me during the season, they were always right there all the way to the 4th quarter, and they just ran out of gas. So I think they'll win 6 more games, puts them at 12-28 if my math is correct. 12-28. I think they overtake the Sparks, and they finished the 10th seed. They're probably gonna, towards the end, they'll probably start to go into tank mode and start playing Aaliyah Edwards a lot more, and rest Brittany Sykes and Shakira to prevent them from injury. But I can see them 10th seed, 12-28. That's how their season of misery ends. RC says 10-30. Bye bye. See y'all on lottery night. I'm so weak. I am weak, man. Any other comments on the Mystics? It's been a rough season for them, to be completely honest. It went downhill from when Natasha said, "Get me out of here." Ends up getting a sign and trade to the Mercury. Then Elena Della Don's like, "I don't think that I will," and she says, "I'm retiring, not retiring, but I'm sitting out the season." So it's been downhill from them. They had to scramble to fill in pieces there. Carly Samuelson also plays for the Mystics, but she's hurt. I think they said she should be good to go for tomorrow. So we'll see how that plays. All right. And last but certainly not least, the Dallas Wings. I had the Dallas Wings at 9th seed in our preseason predictions here. They're currently 6-19. So they're tied with the Mystics for the worst record. They're 4-7 at home, 2-12 on the road. Okay, so 9 home games, 6 away games out of their 15. Dallas has the strongest strength of schedule left. They play the Liberty 4 times. Connecticut once, Minnesota once, Seattle once, the Aces twice. It's going to be tough. But listen, there is hope if you're a Mystics fan. It was announced Satu Sabali, Maddie Siegrist, Jaylen Brown, not to be confused with Boston Celtics Jaylen Brown, of course. They're all coming back, but which means Mo Billings, who was signed on a hardship contract at the beginning of the season, is released, and Odyssey Sims, who was cooking towards the end of towards the All-Star break, she had to be released as well because she was on a hardship. I saw a lot of people like, "Oh, Mystics are dumb," but they were signed on hardship. Those two players were signed on hardship contracts. According to league rules, they had to be released since players who were actually signed to main contracts were returning. RC says, since Satu is coming back, free Maddie to Indy. We'll see in the offseason, man. A lot of things will change in this offseason with the expansion draft and the team from Golden State coming in. RC says 12-28 for the Wings. Brother. We'll see. We'll see how Satu had glimpses in the Olympics of her past self. They were icing that shoulder a lot that she had surgery on, so that's something to keep an eye on. Let's see how Maddie comes back from that surgery on her hand. I think it was a finger surgery. Jaylen Brown, they just said illness. They never really got into details what the illness was. So hopefully she's okay. But Odyssey Sims and Mo Billings, I would not be surprised if a team picks them up, one of those two up, a contending team, as they march into the playoffs. Odyssey Sims, those last couple games of the season before the break, it was like almost double doubles, like really taking care of the ball, passing, shooting the three a lot better. I don't know if it's the system or her skills just improved, but she was playing really, really well. So I gotta salute her there. But looking at their schedule, they play Connecticut twice at New York. End the season on the road against Indiana and Vegas. Yeah, their season's pretty much over. Out of their 15 games, yeah, I think I'm with RC on that. I'll give them 6 wins, 12. Put them at 12-28. Yeah, I give them 6 wins just off the strength of having their core 3 back. and that puts them sort of tied with Washington at that 12 and 28. I think LA will probably drop down to 12 seed, to be honest with you. I'm going to put LA at 12 seed. And that's it, people. I think we've reached the end. That's all 12 teams, all 12 of their schedules, and our prediction. So let me update my sheet, and then I'll pull it back up. So I had Fever, had Chicago, I had Dream, Mystics, Wings, and Sparks. RC says all three of them coming back to watch Enrique shoot the lights out the gym. Now she gonna have to adjust back to how she was playing last year. She gonna have to make an adjustment there. She's definitely gonna have to make an adjustment. Let me refresh. All right, cool. Of course, RC. Of course. So just so you guys can see what I got going on here. This column here is my updated column. The column all the way on the left is what I had at the preseason. So Liberty, Sun, Aces, Storm, Lynx, Mercury, Fever, Chicago, Dream, Mystics, Wings, and Sparks finish off at the bottom. So that is my prediction for this final stretch of the season. Remember, the season ends on Thursday, September 19th. Every team in the league will be playing on that day. So we'll probably have a nice stream for that. I'll probably try and see if my computer can handle going between multiple different games. Or I'll try and keep you guys updated with all the different games. RC said Liberty going 35-5. Nah, I can't see it, man. 35-5. That means they lose one more game the rest of this season. That's crazy. I can't see it. But listen, I wouldn't complain if they do. I would not complain if they do. People, wow, we've been on for a little over an hour. Pretty good stream, I think. Thank you guys for all tuning in. As you can see here on the bottom, I have the games for tomorrow. The Mystics take on the Lynx on ESPN at 8 p.m. The Mercury take on the Sky. That will probably be on League Pass. I think it might be on Prime as well. Let me look at the actual schedule here on the WNBA app, on the WNBA website. So yeah, so what I see here, Phoenix versus Sky is on Amazon Prime Video. Mystics at Lynx, that's on ESPN 3 / League Pass. And at 9 p.m., the Liberty take on the Sparks at 9 p.m. So remember, Liberty fan here, you see it. I'll be doing the watch along for that game, 9 p.m. Liberty at Sparks. WNBA returns for the second half sprint to the finish here. So I will be doing that one. And then on Friday, I won't be doing any on Friday. But it got a couple good games. You got the Storm. Let me see if I can switch this over for us, so we can take a look at this. There we go. So we got the Storm and the Dream. Then you got the Mercury and the Fever, and the Sun and the Wings. All those games will be on Ion on Friday. And then, of course, on Saturday, Liberty take on the Aces at 4 p.m. on CBS. There's a doubleheader on CBS. Lynx versus Mystics at 2 p.m. Liberty versus Aces at 4 p.m. And then they have the Sky versus the Sparks at 5. So I will be doing the stream tomorrow. Probably not Friday and Saturday, but definitely on Sunday we'll be back for one of the early games. I do have something to do in the evening, but I do want to get in a stream for one of the early games. All right, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. As always, it's good to have the WNBA coming back. The Olympics was cool. I'm glad the ladies won the gold medal, 8th straight. But I need my Liberty to get back into the swing of things and take care of business. And hopefully we can see some very intense games coming down the stretch of the season. As always, guys, leave a like if you liked this. Subscribe if you're new here. And I'll catch y'all on the next one. RC, salute to you, my guy. Thanks for always tuning in. Thanks for the regulars for always tuning in. And I'll catch y'all on the next one. Salute.